and welcome to 51st episode of SEC Online Weekly Rewind. I'm Bhumika Indulia and I've got for you some unmissable legal stories. Right from the stay on the release of Gangubai Kathiawadi to the launch of ABC Criminal Law and Criminal Justice book. Stay with us till the end. In this week's top story, I have brought before you a case from the entertainment industry. Usually we have seen that the films face backlash from the society for depicting it in a wrong way. Similarly, in respect to the petitions with regard to the stay on the movie Gangubai Kathiawadi, the Bombay High Court, while expressing that once the film is granted a certificate by the competent authority, that is the board, the producer or distributor of the film has every right to exhibit the film in a hall unless, of course, the said certificate is modified, nullified by a superior authority or court. The court also held that there cannot be any kind of obstruction for the exhibition of a film which is certified unless the said certificate is challenged and court states its operation. The Supreme Court has invited applications seeking conferment of designation of senior advocates from retired Chief Justices, judges of high courts and advocates on record. You need not worry if your earlier application was not considered favorable. You may still apply afresh. Those who submitted applications prior to the date of publication of this notice may also apply afresh. The applications are to be submitted by March 21st. In an important ruling on Employees Provident Fund, the Supreme Court has held that any default or delay in payment of EPF contribution by the employer under the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952 is a sine qua non for imposition of levy of damages under Section 14B and mens rea or actus rea is not an essential element for imposing penalty or damages for breach of civil obligations. The court has upheld the Karnataka High Court judgment wherein it was held that once the default in payment of contribution is admitted, the damages as being envisaged under Section 14B are consequential and the employer is under an obligation to pay the damages for delay in payment of contribution of EPF. There is no need to go into the aspect of whether the default or delay was willful or not. Holding that the condition imposed by Railway Board circular that compassionate appointment cannot be granted to children born from the second wife of a deceased employee is discriminatory. The Supreme Court has held that the applicant cannot be denied consideration under the scheme of compassionate appointments only because he is the son of the second wife of his father. The court observed that a policy cannot discriminate against a person on the ground of a descent, classifying children of the deceased employee as legitimate and illegitimate and recognize only the right of legitimate descendant. In a case where the magistrate has passed an order under Section 156 Clause 3 of CRPC, even in absence of an affidavit duly sworn by the complainant, the Supreme Court has held that many a times the application under Section 156 Clause 3 of the CRPC are filed in a routine manner without taking any responsibility only to harass certain persons, and hence such applications are to be supported by affidavits. The court observed that filing of an affidavit is necessary so that the persons making the application would be conscious and not make false affidavit. With such requirement, the persons would be deterred from casually invoking authority of the magistrate. If the affidavit is found to be false, the person would be liable for prosecution in accordance with law. Moving on to the High Courts. In a matter wherein husband had approached the court with the grievance that he was deserted by his wife and hence sought the decree of divorce, which was rejected by the family court. The Chhattisgarh High Court expressed that if the husband keeps another lady, gives shelter to her and proceeds to have a child with the said lady, and for that reason if the first wife has to leave the matrimonial home because of physical and mental torture meted out to her, it cannot be presumed as a desertion on the part of the wife. Wife has submitted that the husband had kept one concubine which led to the family dispute and forced her to stay at her parental village, as the husband has also mentally and physically tortured her. stressing that state of Punjab, which was known as one of the prosperous states, is now at the brink of drug trafficking. Punjab and Haryana High Court held that in order to curb the menace of drug trafficking, the accused person are to be dealt with stringently even at the stage of granting him or bail in NDPS's cases involving commercial quantity. The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal expressed that the applications having been filed under Section 95 Clause 1 and the adjudicating authority for application under Section 95 Clause 1 as referred in Section 60 Clause 1 being the NCLT, the application filed will be maintainable and cannot be rejected on the ground that no CIRP or liquidation proceedings were pending before the NCLT. Further, the quorum remarked that when a CIRP or liquidation proceeding of a corporate debtor is pending before a NCLT, the application relating to insolvency process or corporate guarantor or personal guarantor should be filed before the same NCLT. While addressing a case wherein there was a delay of 6 years in handling over the possession of the buyer, the NCDRC held that in view of several Supreme Court decisions on the said issue, the buyer was entitled to get legal possession along with compensation. The Commission also expressed that the buyer cannot wait for an indefinite time as he had invested heavily his hard-earned money with the intention to get legal possession of the flat. The SEBI inserts definition of professional clearing member, White SEBI Stockbrokers Amendment Regulation. The professional clearing member means a member having clearing and settlement rights in any recognized clearing corporation, but not having trading rights in any recognized stock exchange. The net worth of stockbroker has been increased by SEBI to 3 crores, White SEBI Depositories and Participants Amendment Regulations 2020. The new brick kilns allowed with a zigzag technology or vertical shaft or use of piped natural gas as a fuel in brick making. Brick kilns should be established at a minimum distance of 1 kilometer from an existing brick kiln to avoid clustering of kilns in an area. The owners shall ensure that the road utilized for transporting raw materials or bricks are paved roads and the vehicles should be covered during transportation of raw materials. The book release of Criminal Law and Criminal Justice by Professor B.B. Pandey took place on February 26. The book aims at enabling the reader to a better understanding of the dynamics of the criminal law and criminal justice, rule of law in a wide angle, cutting across the countries and time periods. It reflects the criminal law and criminal justice legality at the normative and the grassroots level. Thank you for watching our 51st episode of SEC Online Weekly Rewind. Stay tuned to the next episode.